guys, what's up and welcome back to my channel. So, there are times in your life when you just need really solid advice and you really just need a source of wisdom. And I've been having a hard time recently, and so I referred to the one and only source, not my friends, not my husband, not my family, but the one true source of wisdom that I will always feel comforted by, because it's so stupid that it makes me feel like a genius, aka Cosmopolitan. If you've been here for a while, I clown on them every so often just because how does a publication like that still exist, first of all? You think you've seen it all with being apologists for incest, apologists for cheating, apologists for a bunch of things that I just deem immoral. But anyway, this one might even take the cake in terms of I didn't even expect this one. 6 things to know before hiring a PI to snoop on your partner.
I don't know what the that was.
Because we've all been in that situation where, you just can't trust the person you're with, so you gotta hire a private investigator. Now, I have to say, I have thought about hiring private investigators, but that's only when I had a suspicion that someone was a murderer. It's a long story, but that's the only situation in which I've ever considered hiring a private investigator. While a popular reason that people hire private investigators is to snoop on their partners or to catch them cheating, that's certainly not all PIs do. Lisa Rybakoff, a licensed private investigator based in New York City, explains that oftentimes insurance companies will use PIs to determine whether or not someone is truly as hurt or injured from an accident as they claim. Parents will also hire investigators to look into their children's significant others or to check their social media online to ensure they look clean for college applications. I've only ever seen anyone hire private investigators for their significant others in trashy movies. I've never actually heard of someone genuinely doing that. And if you have to do that, maybe ask yourself why you can't just have a conversation, or if you can't have a conversation because you can't communicate, try therapy or the alternative of dumping them and finding someone else. It's so funny to me that here they're telling you how to hire a private investigator for your relationship, but they're like, oh yeah, usually they use it for like insurance and like actually serious things that you need a private investigator for that you can't just confront someone about. Regardless of why you're hiring a PI, here are some things to consider if you're thinking about it. Hiring a PI has definite benefits over the DIY approach. While you might think you know your partner best and could therefore sleuth the best, professional PIs do have certain advantages. As professionals, they're emotionally removed and objective and can keep calm during investigations. We have the ability to think first, then act, says Rybakoff. She adds, people try the DIY method and without the training and knowledge of the laws such as stalking harassment, vehicle and traffic laws, an individual can get themselves into hot water and legal action could be a final result. Sounds like everything you don't want in this situation. So it's almost like you should hire professionals to do their jobs because they're professionals and have been trained to do the job and you haven't been. Now that is something I didn't think about, I could actually go see a doctor instead of Googling all my symptoms and thinking I have some terrible life-threatening disease. I could have just seen a doctor, and all this time I just Googled it myself because I didn't realize that I'm not as qualified as them. Gotta hand it to Cosmo. This one really did change my life. PI licensing varies from state to state. Each state holds their own licensing accreditation and has their own requirements, says Rybakoff. When hiring an investigator, you'll want to make sure they are licensed according to whatever state you're in and that you've never had a history of reports or complaints with the Secretary of State or Labor Board. It can also be a plus if the agency has former law enforcement professionals like FBI agents on staff. What in this article is brand new information, and most of this is just the basics to PIs. It doesn't sound like this is related to relationships, so I don't know if they're being clickbaity yet, but so far these are relatively obvious things. Yes, laws are different in different places. Okay. Thanks. It can get pricey. While prices vary from agency to agency, Rybakoff explains that most tend to bill an hourly rate. Because it can be difficult to tell exactly how long an investigation will take, this means that most firms will bill for several hours at a time. Rybakoff says that a background investigation, turning up any criminal history or pending litigation can start at $150 at the low end and $1,000 on the high end. At minimum, a 4-hour surveillance that includes travel time, mileage, and expenses would cost around $1,000. Again, quick side note, you can get background checks online for next to nothing. This is by far one of the dumbest points. Wait for it. You can choose a female or male PI. Wow. Not like pretty much every single profession has men and women, and most of the time you can pick which one you are most comfortable with. I've never heard of that, ever. This is a common misconception, explains Rybakoff. In some ways, being a female PI is harder and easier than being a male PI. It's easier for a woman to blend into a restaurant or nightclub when surveilling at these locations, and it can be easier for women to make conversation with a bartender or in line in the bathroom. Yeah, I've never seen one single man at a club or at a restaurant, so I would definitely know that man there who's eating that sandwich is definitely a PI, because restaurants, they don't let men in. Thought everyone knew that. Male PI asking too many questions might seem suspicious in those settings. Agencies can also employ men and women on different surveillance missions. If the person being surveilled is a woman who goes to a nail salon regularly, it makes sense to send a female investigator to also go in and surveil. If it's a guy who regularly goes to a strip club, it'd make more sense to send a male investigator. It's almost like, depending on the investigation, it could be better to have a male or a female. Also groundbreaking. Your PI should not interact with the person they're investigating. Rybakoff says that for her firm, the investigators are trained to not engage with the person they're investigating. I thought that was like a normal thing, that they should never interact, because then they could really easily give themselves away. Isn't the point of a PI to be private and secretive? Should any attempted interaction occur on the part of the subject, our operatives are trained to play dumb, do not answer any questions, and to immediately walk away and get out of sight, she explains. You've got to be okay with possibly not getting the answer you're looking for. Again, a really nuanced point made by Cosmopolitan. There are times when clients have said the investigation was a waste of time because it didn't turn up that the subject was engaging in any behavior the client so strongly believed was happening. Other times, as Rybakoff says, they will report and confirm negative behavior, but the client will regret that they ever looked into the matter and wish they didn't know. This article essentially, like I said, did not really talk about couples as much as it gave you the basics about PIs and what to expect and prepare yourself for, which I thought were all pretty obvious, so I don't know that the article needed to be written, but anyway. It's kind of funny though, because I feel like this article, the implication is that it's common enough of a practice that they can write an article and it's relatable enough to people, you know what I mean? Because there's no point of writing an article about, oh, the feeling you get when your significant other loses a sock and your tooth hurts, you know, like who would really relate to that at any given point? Not many people. So the fact that they wrote this, the implication is that, oh yeah, a lot of people will relate to this, which I think is concerning because I don't know anyone who would relate. I've never heard of anyone hiring a PI for their significant other. But really, and we've established this before, the bigger underlying problem is that Cosmo does reinforce really just negative and honestly sometimes toxic traits that should not be reinforced but should rather be condemned or worked through. So even just the implication that, you know, it's a quote-unquote regular or at least common enough thing to hire a PI on your significant other, to me is questionable at best. However, I think that there's a second irony to this, because while I was reading that article, there was another recommended article to read, related article, and it's called How to Catch a Cheater, right? So I just quickly skimmed through this because I really didn't want to lose more brain cells than I have. And legitimately, the second point is do not invade their privacy. What is hiring a PI really? You're getting someone to be followed around, you're getting background checks, like you're already invading their privacy just because it's not you going through their phone or just because you're not physically doing anything yourself. The third numbers talk to them.
Wow.
Wow. Wow.
Wow, look at this.
I'm like, why wasn't this put in the other article? Like, hey, before hiring a PI, maybe have a conversation, you know, maybe don't go like weird trashy movie immediately. I don't know, I just thought that was pretty funny. But would you guys hire a PI for your significant other? I really hope you wouldn't. But if you have ever hired a PI, let me know in the comments because I think that'd be really interesting. Anyways guys, thank you so much for watching. Thank you to my patrons as always, and let's get right into the fan art.